Hello, everyone. Ex-Wall Kill Bethelite here. And let's talk a little bit about Jehovah's Witness and the sexual marketplace or the dating field. And we're going to look at both JW men and JW women and look at who has the greater value in the dating market and also what that means for Jehovah's Witnesses. And for me growing up, there was always a mix of both young men in the congregation and young women. But from what I've seen, outside of the big cities, I'm not talking about New York City. I'm not talking about areas in cities where uh, money is more of a big deal. Let me give you an example. In New York, you're not going to have a bunch of JW men who are window washers like you would in Ohio, like you may in Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like you may have in some small southern town, right? In New York, it's very expensive to live. So even the Jehovah's Witnesses view jobs differently. In New York, you're going to have Jehovah's Witnesses with better paying jobs. So the reason why places like New York, bigger cities, well, they don't really factor as much into the conversation because the men, the Jehovah's Witness men in these bigger cities are different. They're getting better jobs, right? Because they know New York is expensive and they're not viewed as less spiritual for pursuing better jobs. Whereas in your smaller cities, like places where I grew up, you go, you look around, and you don't see as many Jehovah's Witness young women in their early 20s, 25, around that age. You don't see a whole bunch of young Jehovah's Witness women that don't have kids, single, of dating and marrying age, from what I've seen in these smaller towns. But you see a whole lot of JW men. You got all kind of young JW men running around, step and fetch it, get the microphone, carry it to brother and sister so-and-so. You got plenty of young men sitting at the sound station, whatever they call it now, turning on the songs, changing the pictures up on their little JW TVs that they got in the Kingdom Hall now. They're carrying the microphone. So you got all these young Jehovah's Witness men. Well, where are all the young Jehovah's Witness women to match with those men? Well, I don't see as many, right? Yeah, there's single women. Sometimes some of these single women, they've already got kids, they're a little bit older, right? They've already been married, all kinds of things like that. That's different because that's not really viewed as an equal match for these young Jehovah's Witness men in their early 20s, right? The sister over here with 5 kids. She could marry somebody. I'm just saying that that's not really what I'm factoring in. I'm talking the young 20 to 25-year-old men and young teenage boys with their plenty of them, and young 20 to 25-year-old women that don't have kids that match them. You don't see as many of them. Not at least I don't. Comment down below. You tell me. But I've gone to do my little spying, per se, and I've gone to several congregations and looked around, and you got all these young boys everywhere. But you don't see the 25-year-old young single sisters. Why? Partly some of them are behind that little glass, in the back room behind the glass, all disfellowshipped, right? One of the reasons for that, I think, this is an open discussion we can talk about in the comments section, but this is why I think that is. And I think the reason why you don't have as many young, single 20 to 25-year-old women all over the Kingdom Hall is because their value in the dating marketplace is higher. So you have men pursuing them, whether they're in the Kingdom Hall or they're not in the Kingdom Hall. And who do you think that those women are more likely to flock to? The nerdy Jehovah's Witness young man running around carrying microphones, working part-time at Taco Bell so that he can pass out magazines with most of his time, or one of the young men outside of Jehovah's Witnesses who have a nice job, who have a nice car, and who have way more experience with women. They've dated women. They don't have chaperones, so they're not nervous around you, right? They got that swag. So who do you think the 20 to 25-year-old young single women are more prone to flock to, right? See, growing up, I remember going to my first club, right? And this is after I've woken up, and I went to the club with what do we call them? Homie, physically out, mentally in. It was a Jehovah's Witness who hadn't been going to the hall, but he still believed. Well, I went to a club with him, go in there, and that's where all the Jehovah's Witnesses are. They're at the club partying, and there's all your 20 to 25-year-old women dancing, having fun, guys buying them all kinds of drinks. See, they are pursued a lot heavier. They have more temptation, right, than your nerdy Jehovah's Witness boy that don't have a good job, nor don't have that good of a car, don't even have, he don't have that nice of a place to stay, right? This concept that all these women are going to ignore all these men of stature outside of the Kingdom Hall, and they're all just going to sit around and wait for somebody to become a ministerial servant, get a low-paying trade job, and get a dirty apartment so that she can marry him. She's just going to wait around for that, right? This is apparently the concept that a lot of Jehovah's Witness men, including the governing body, have, is that they've got all these women from 20 to 25 or I don't know, 20 to 27, right? You're not going to have a whole lot of young, attractive women still on the market the way a Jehovah's Witness wants. Jehovah's Witnesses want these people to be virgins, right? This is what we're talking about. For a Jehovah's Witness, the ideal wife is someone who is a virgin. So let's be realistic. You're not going to have attractive women from between the ages of 20 to, let's say, 28. Once they get beyond 28, very low probability that these young, attractive women are still going to be virgins after that, right? You got all these men pursuing them. They would have selected one of them by that time. And when you look around the Kingdom Hall, typically you see the higher value women have in the dating market when you got all these young men sitting by themselves at the Kingdom Hall. But then the women, they're either sitting next to their husband, right? The only reason they're there is because they got married. They're sitting next to their husband. Or you see little kids and teenage girls, right? But then above that age, above the kids and teenage girls, they vanished. They didn't disappear. They either married a JW or they are with some other guy, right? It don't make sense that Jehovah's Witness parents are only having boys. That what you see in the Kingdom Hall is the actual demographic of Jehovah's Witnesses, that they just have a whole lot of boys. And there's a couple of girls there, but mostly a whole bunch of nerdy, weird boys that are all virgins, right? You don't have a whole bunch of young 20 to 28-year-old girls that are virgins. Think about it. It's because women are pursued, young women are pursued, period, if they're attractive, period. However, young men need to have jobs. They need to have, at least be going to college. They need to have some kind of drive, right? Women can sense men who have this drive, and you can't trick them. You can try to trick women and you can't do it. Just like men are attracted to certain types of women, right? A woman can try to put all kinds of things in her shirt to make her breast look, to try to trick them. But it's hard to trick somebody. They're attracted to what they're attracted to. So women oftentimes attracted to guys that have drive, ambition, career, money, cars, other women. They're attracted to guys that have all this stuff. That's not a Jehovah's Witness. That Jehovah's Witnesses are the polar opposite of what women would be attracted to. Jehovah's Witness men are, let me get a whatever job so that I can focus my time and attention on doing things for free, which is the passing out of magazines, the whole ministry, all of those sorts of things. So the men in the Kingdom Hall, they're wearing the suit. You got your nice suit, you got your nice tie, nice shoes, you know, you got your briefcase, you're walking around and you ain't tricking the women because they all know you ain't got no job that's paying anything. This is a problem. This is a problem that Jehovah's Witness men have, and potentially Jehovah's Witness women have, is the women are looking at what they have in the Kingdom Hall to select from, and these nerdy, weird boys in these suits are not tricking them. The suit is not making them more attractive because they don't have the drive. I don't think women just go off pure what they see as far as physique. The personality, the swag, the drive, the ambition, the money, the confidence. You hear that word a lot, the confidence. All those things play a part. So if the women are looking in the Kingdom Hall, they're not seeing it. But outside of the hall, it's everywhere. And we're living in the electronic age, right? Where it's not that hard for a woman, even if she's raised Jehovah's Witness, to come in contact with one of these men because we have social media. Before, it would be harder. A long time ago, probably in the 80s, you know, a Jehovah's Witness woman might stick around in the Kingdom Hall and wait for one of these weird, nerdy boys that don't have a good job because she would be ridiculed if she, you know, just publicly went out pursuing all these other men. But now with social media, she can be talking to anyone. These Jehovah's Witness women can be talking to anyone, and the elders don't know, their family don't know, nobody in the Kingdom Hall knows, because they're doing it on Instagram, they're doing it on Facebook, they're doing it on whatever website, I don't know. They got inboxes now, right? So all this stuff is private. So there's nothing preventing these women from pursuing what they find attractive. And from the looks that I have seen, you could tell me you've seen something different. From the look of the demographic, it looks like that's what's happening. You see all these weird, nerdy boys running around with dirty collars, sitting by themselves, and with the women, what do you see? Their husband is sitting next to them. Or they're not there at all. You don't see them. They're not in the Kingdom Hall. Or they're in the back room behind that glass disfellowship because they're having sex. The weird nerdy boys are not back there because they ain't having sex. They're still virgins and whatnot. Right? You have these oddballs in the congregation. And it's worse for the Jehovah's Witness men now than it was in the past. In the past, you had a whole lot of Jehovah's Witness women that weren't experienced and didn't know any better. Now with social media, the world has gotten smaller. Everybody's communicating now. You're not going to be able to keep these women in the Kingdom Hall anymore, and you see it. You don't see all these young, marriageable women that don't have any kids, and they're all submissive and all this other stuff. Where is all? You don't. It ain't there. What you have is a whole bunch of weird, horny boys masturbating, and they're all virgins, and they don't know what to do with the woman to begin with, which what this does is it lowers their market in the sexual dating pool. So you got all these Jehovah's Witness horny men, and they don't have anybody to have sex with. And this is dangerous to a degree. It is dangerous because over time, this person is just going to get more and more weird. You got all these teenage girls and young girls there. Above that age, they just vanished, or they're married to a JW man, or they're back in the back room, disfellowship from having sex, and nobody's supposed to talk to them. So for the JW men, the women that are behind the glass that are all having sex and getting disfellowship, they're not supposed to be on the market either. They're not even supposed to date them. Who are all the boys supposed to be dating? All the passing out magazines and raising your hand to comment and giving a talk, none of that is going to help with the sex drive, the wanting to have sex. You're just going to have a bunch of weird people, and part of that could be the pedophile problem. Part of that could be the old such and such was sent over brother such and such's house, right, to spend the night, and their son came in and touched him and whatnot. Because he's some weird JW boy that he can't date nobody in school. He ain't dating nobody at the hall. And the only thing around him is all these young girls. And I personally think that is dangerous. And according to the Australian Royal Commission, according to those facts, it's dangerous for Watchtower to continue to tell the men in their organization not to pursue careers, not to go out and do things that make you attractive to women so that you can have one. Don't have sex, be a virgin for forever, and pass out magazines. Well, you got a bunch of virgins passing out magazines and also doing pedophile stuff. It's either that or people were already pedophiles prior to coming in contact with the religion, and then they just came in for the sole purpose of victimizing young girls. There could be some of that. It's a possibility that the pedophiles, some of those pedophiles in the Australian Royal Commission, they were pedophiles before they became Jehovah's Witnesses. But it's also possible that they became that way as a result of their upbringing and just being weird, not having sex, being virgins for forever, passing out magazines, and all the women are out having sex, and the only people left are a bunch of teenage girls. Honestly, if I had teenage girls and I was a Jehovah's Witness and I was POMI, physically out, mentally in, I'd have my teenage girls at home watching the meeting on Zoom. I wouldn't have my teenage girls in a Kingdom Hall knowing full well there's a whole bunch of horny men from, I don't know, 17 clear to 30 that ain't having no sex. They ain't attractive to no women because they work at freaking Burlington Coat Factory. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just you're not pulling women with that job, right? The car they got is barely running. It's not attractive to women. These are the guys that are there. Who are they having sex with? Nobody. And you think this is just going to go okay? No. Now you have Australian Royal Commission. You got all kinds of weird people in your organization touching girls and whatnot. About the only people who are successful at tricking women into marrying them are Bethelites. And that's partially because women don't know anything about Bethel. Bethel is to a certain extent hidden. Bethel is just this mystical, magical thing that people are taught is this magical kingdom and wonderful. So yeah, Bethelites pull women left and right. But all these weird JW boys run around just playing basketball with each other. They're either having sex with each other or they're masturbating a lot. Or I don't know what else they could be doing. But that's not what I want to have my teenage daughter around. See what I'm saying? This is why the demographic is so detrimental. Is because women have a higher place in the market when you know, when their counterpart men don't have no good job. They're a bunch of JWs, and about all they do is get up on stage and give horrible talks and pass out magazines, and that's it, right? That's all that they have for men to make them attractive to them is they wear suits, oftentimes dirty suits. The suit is in rotation. They wear it a lot. Collar's dirty, and they, get up on stage and give weird talks. Like the women are gone. The women are going to be. It's never failed. As far as me, my personal view in growing up, I can only speak to what I have seen. And the internet has made the world a smaller place. So a lot of those JW women, you can check them out online. Look at it. Look at what they're doing. They're with their boyfriend. They're with some other guy that they married that's not in the Kingdom Hall, that's got money, that's sending them on trips, or they're going on trips together all around the world and whatnot. That's where they are. The dirty boys in the Kingdom Hall, they're just weird, nerdy goofballs that don't do nothing but read watchtowers, pass them out publicly, or write letters, and are told to get low-paying jobs if necessary, so that they have more time to pass out more magazines and do more stuff at the Kingdom Hall, like carrying microphones around. Right? Jehovah's Witnesses are training these boys to be virgins forever and just be weird older guys. I wouldn't have my teenage girls anywhere near that. If I had daughters anywhere from 15 up, I would not have her step foot in a Kingdom Hall. Because per square inch in a Kingdom Hall, you got the most weird virgin men that you're going to have anywhere, right? Where else you're going to go? Where else you're going to go within that square footage, and you're going to have that many weird, virgin, horny boys around your daughters? Why would you have your teenage girls at a Kingdom Hall? That's the worst place for them. Any of them boys, they don't let them boys anywhere near your daughter, especially out anywhere alone. Don't let those men who ain't got, that's weird, grew up weird, anywhere near your daughters. Not after the meeting, off hugging little girls. I've seen that. I've seen Brother Weird, we'll just call him Brother Weird, where after the meeting, all the adults are talking, but this weird man is off hugging kids, particularly girls. I've seen it, and I'm just looking at the guy, and I'm looking at everybody else, and I'm like, y'all don't see this as weird. The reason why y'all don't see this as weird is because there's a lot of JW men like that. They'll be off hugging the little girls. They'll be off trying to hang out with the kids. You know what I mean? Just odd stuff that people outside of the Kingdom Hall would immediately notice as weird, because the men outside of the Kingdom Hall, they're pursuing women. They care less about kids. They're pursuing women. So when you're in the Kingdom Hall and you see all the opposite, all these people hugging these little girls, you're like, this don't fit. Something's not right with this puzzle. Pieces of this puzzle aren't fitting together. Where in reality, it kind of is. The Kingdom Hall is where you got all the weirdos. You got the pedos. You got the people that if they're not pedos, they're weird virgin boys and ain't had sex, and they're in their late 20s. Or they've had sex, but then they got disfellowshipped. What happens when you're disfellowshipped? Where you're not socializing. So they're either virgins or they're not virgins. And if they're not virgins, then they got disfellowshipped. And they have no social contact in like a year, if not longer, which makes a person weird. Either way, whether they're virgins until they're 30 or they're getting disfellowshipped and they don't got no physical contact with no humans, to really talk to as far as their friends and family and whatnot. Either ordeal you go through, these boys are going to wind up weird, strange individuals, masturbating all over the place, right? And that's where you want your kids. That's where you want your teenage daughters. I'd be having them watch it on Zoom. That way you don't have to worry about it. Have them watch, if you gotta have them watch it, have them watch the meeting on Zoom. And then you as a father can relax to a certain degree. At least as far as the Kingdom Hall, you don't have to worry about your daughters being around all these strange boys who are told not to pursue sex like the women do, right? The boys are trying to just stick with what's in the Kingdom Hall. The women, what do you see with your eyes? They're in a back room because they're having sex, or they're not at the Kingdom Hall because they're with their boyfriends and whatnot, right? The women aren't just sticking around. Every now and again, you'll have some. You'll have a few that decide to pioneer and they really do take that stuff seriously. But oftentimes, those women are gone. And it's because they're heavily pursued by they're going to be getting pursued at work, whether they're at school. They're going to be getting pursued everywhere. It's just the way nature works. And the boys are not going to be getting pursued because they're not doing things to make themselves attractive to women. They got horrible jobs. They're in a weird cult. If you're a father, you should keep your teenage daughters at home. Do not send them to a Kingdom Hall to get molested by some strange weirdo that is in an abnormal sexual marketplace. The sexual marketplace is not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be a whole lot of weird, horny boys. And the women from 20 to 28 that are single with no kids, they're kind of scarce. You ain't supposed to be like that. It ain't supposed to be to where your son gotta go to 5 other congregations just to find a female around his age that ain't in the back room. It's not. That's an abnormal sexual marketplace, which is going to produce an abnormal male that's then going to be around all these young girls. Fathers, put your kids, if your wife is in that cult, or even if you're a father and you do believe that Jehovah's Witnesses have the truth, even though they get stuff wrong and they don't, have your daughters watch it on Zoom. Keep them away from the Kingdom Hall. And if you got sons, I would not raise your son in the Jehovah's Witness sexual marketplace. You're going to have to teach the boy to get a good job, to take care of himself, work out, have some confidence, some swag, some things that women find attractive. And you're going to have him around women. If you raise your son in the Jehovah's Witness environment, unless it's in some big city like New York and there's just all these women in the Kingdom Hall for him to talk to and socialize with and become used to and date,